We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on DFCRadio.com.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com. This is your host, Emily, and today is May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo. So today is Cinco de Mayo. It seems like it's a fun holiday. I'm thinking back of when I was in my 20s, and it was a drinking holiday. And it seems like we've had quite a few holidays lately. We had 420, and then we had St. Patrick's Day, and then today's Cinco de Mayo. And those were all holidays where it seemed to be there was revolved around one activity, which was more partying. But there's something just as important as Cinco de Mayo, which I might have to have a margarita at lunch because it is Cinco de Mayo. But it is also the big day of giving, May 5th. And we talked about this last week with Kimberly Grant, the executive director of Placer Nature Center. And this is the big day of giving. It's in Sacramento County, Placer, Yolo, local to the Sacramento region. And they're raising for local nonprofits. Placer Nature Center is one of them. And as I'm recording this, it's 8 a.m. This is a 24-hour day of giving, so 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. So far, they've received 6,887 gifts with a total of $1.3 million. And there's still 15 hours left, and by the time you hear this, there'll be 5, 6. There'll be still 5.5, 6 hours left if you do want to donate. So you can go to www.bigdayofgiving.org. It's May 5th, and it's local nonprofits raising money, and a lot of it is their funds, such as the Placer Nature Center. A lot of it's run off of donations, and so they can run their programs, and they need some repairs at the nature center. And I know I will be donating this morning. So today's show, I am going to be talking about seed starting, because it's not too late to start seeds. I know it's May, but I've been pretty bad at getting my garden in, and I'm still starting seeds. So it's good information to go over. And one of my favorite things to make, especially in the summer, is summer porridge with Greek yogurt. So I will share one of my favorite recipes, very simple and easy, and you can have a super good breakfast to go in the morning. So that will be today. And then this weekend, I ended up doing garden work on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the garden, and it was beautiful. I will say I've gotten a little bit behind on my garden work. Sometimes it's hard to find time, but I did make myself have some time, and it was well worth it. I was able to move 12 loads of mulch, 12 wheelbarrow loads of mulch around my garden. And one of the rules of the community garden is you have to mulch around your garden and take away all of the weeds, and some of it's in community space and pathways, but you're in charge of mulching your area. I happen to have some bad neighbors at my community garden plot. One side of my garden bed is my neighbor's plot is unclaimed and not used at all, and the weeds are probably 3 feet tall in them. So I've been battling a little bit with that, and I really need to get the mulch down. And the person on the other side, it's not a person. The community garden is located on school property, and they donate 4 beds to the school so they can use it for teachers, for students, whatever they want. They can have 4 beds, and they never use them, which is very unfortunate. So I end up weeding and having to put mulch down around that side of the garden because the school does not use their community garden plots. And I really hope that they do sometime. But I put 12 wheelbarrow loads of mulch down. I planted 3 types of tomatoes, planted some marigolds, some beets, 3 types of peppers, some stevia, and did a whole bunch of weeding and general cleanup, dug in the dirt, and did all kinds of nice, good stuff in the garden. And I have to say, I was so sore, but I'm glad I got everything in my garden. I still have 1, 2, 3 areas that I haven't planted. Typically, I'm a planner on the garden and what crops I'm going to grow and where I'm going to plant them because I only have a limited space for growing. But this year, I really haven't done that. I chose where my tomatoes were going to go. I know where my herbs were going to go. And I've just kind of planted and prepped the garden bed as I go with no actual ends game in mind. So, what have you been doing in the garden? Because I know I've been doing a lot of work. What kind of crops are you growing? What have you been working on? Do you get to garden at your house? Do you use a community garden? Do you use containers? What are you doing in your garden this May? I want to hear. Tell me on Facebook, Girl in a Garden, or on Instagram, or send me a message. Tell me what you're growing, and I'd love to see some pictures. Now, before we go to break and hear from a Girl in a Garden show sponsors, remember to check out all of the shows on dfcradio.com. Monday is the Beer 30 show, talking craft beer at 5:30. Tuesday, 5 p.m., a Girl in a Garden, which you are listening to. Tuesday at 6 p.m. is Grow with Grubby Cup right after the show. And we have Heavy Tea's Grow Show on Wednesday with Heavy Tea, Dr. Duff, and Horty Chris, as well as industry guests that start at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And DFC Radio also has an Instagram account that's pretty new. You should check it out. DFC Radio, that is the name for the account. You can see all the different things that go on for all the shows on the network. And you can also download DFC Radio apps for your Android and iPhones. Go to the Play Store or the App Store and type in DFC Radio and you can find the app. And you can always browse through all of the archives for shows on dfcradio.com if you happen to lose. Well, if you happen to, I guess you wouldn't lose them. If you are not by the computer or you want to catch up and you lost track of a few shows. Now, today's shows or today's information segments are video. So please remember you can do the Watch Live Now button if you are watching or listening through dfcradio.com. So I'm going to take a brief break, hear from a Girl in a Garden show sponsors, and we will be back. This is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com.
Everything you do, yeah, they were all yellow. I came along.
dfcradio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's thegreen.com.
A Girl in a Garden quick tip. A great way to sharpen your scissors is with sandpaper. Try cutting through a sheet of fine grit sandpaper to finish off the edge and to keep the cuts clean. For more tips and information, tune in to A Girl in a Garden, 5 p.m. Tuesdays on dfcradio.com.
dfcradio.com.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com. I'm your host, Emily. Last week I showed you how to set up a grow tent that was in my kitchen, and this week I will be starting seeds, and I will be focusing on mainly leafy greens. These are going to be under the T5 and the induction lighting, so faster growth on these ones. There's no need for them to go into flower. They can grow under these less intense lighting options as opposed to your flowering annuals that need to be under HID lighting or HPS lighting. So leafy greens, short harvest time, fast growth on them. So what I have today is, I actually have an old Arrow garden that I found. And I found the kit, the Grow Anything kit that you put your own seeds in. So it looks like, I have no idea what this media is. It's some kind of foam. I will have to do a little bit further research, but this is what comes with the Arrow Garden one. So I'm going to fill this one up, and I'm going to fill it up with some nice RO water, the reverse osmosis. Plop these in here, put the seeds. All you have to do is turn it on and let them know what you're growing. They actually have a thing for salad greens or herbs. You can just press that, and it does all the work for you. And it even shows a little bit of light that pops on that tells you when it needs more nutrients. And it even comes with a little packet that needs to be shaken up of the nutrients. And you add it, I think, once a week. And they give you enough that lasts about 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. And by the time that you are running out of the nutrients, it's time to pull the plants out and do something else. So this is an easy way that you can just do it on your kitchen counter. It's push button, you don't have to do anything at all. Now for the grow tents, I am going to fill up this container with cocoa. And so I went and got some cocoa. This is some cocoa from Canna. Since this is inside, to be a little bit cleaner, I'm going to dump the cocoa into this Tupperware container. I will add some RO water to it. Make sure it's nice and wet, and then I will fill up this container. Once these chambers are filled up, I will put the seeds into them as well. And then I also have some cocoa plugs, and these are from YouGrow, and these need to be filled, well, when you take them out, they're like these little hockey pucks, as we call them. If I can get them out. Let's see what we're doing today. So these are considered, they're like little hockey pucks. They need to be regenerated with water. So I'll put this in probably a Tupperware container, add some RO water, let it fill up, let it hydrate again, and then I'll put some seeds into there. So I'm going to start seeds in cocoa in this container. Since I'm growing leafy greens, I could probably even harvest some of them out of here before I need to transplant. I'm going to put some plants in the cocoa plugs. I have some peppers that eventually need to be transplanted into some general hydroponic water farms. So this is a good way to start them because I know this will be transplanted into hydroton. And then the little Arrow garden with some lettuces. So let's get started on this project. Now the Arrow garden is extremely easy to start seeds in. First you want to fill up the reservoir, which is not very much water. The nice thing about this, it will beep when it needs to be refilled, and there is a little line that says fill to here, so you want to keep that one covered. Once it is filled, you just pop this little lid on. Super easy. Then you have these little inserts that pop into here. Once you grab the little foam strange little inserts, they have a little area you can drop the seeds right into there. So I can just drop them into here, pop them in here, and then drop the seeds in. So super easy to start. All I have to do with this one is plug it in, and it will be ready to go. So I will show you this once the lights are turned on and once everything's filled up. So this one's super easy. Again, there are limitations with this. This does rise here. It will rise to a certain level, but you have to grow short plants in here. Lettuce is fine. Some of the different herbs that are out there. Basil, you can grow basil and keep it pretty short when you're harvesting. So There are limitations, but for growing just a few little culinary herbs or your salad greens or any veggies like that, this is a perfect thing to have on your countertop for fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay, now that I've popped in some seeds, and I did a European lettuce mix from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, popped a few seeds in there, I will put these little covers on. And then you pop on these covers on top of it for a little bit. And all I have to do now is, once these are all done, I will plug it in. That makes this turn on. You'll hear the little pump start pumping. This will get the water and get these soaked all the way up to the top where the seeds are at. Now I want to select what I'm growing. I am growing salad greens. The light is on. This will tell me when I need to add nutrients. It has a little button that tells me that, a little light. To replace the bulbs or if the water's low. So all I have to do is put these little things on there, which honestly I've grown them without as well because they do that and they're kind of annoying. But put those on there. And I'm set. There's actually one seed on there. Drop that into another one. So that's all I have to do. The Aero Garden's up and running. And I just have to wait for germination and watch the little buttons to see if I need to add any additional nutrients or water. Super easy. Great for apartments, condos, anything like that. So for your kitchen, I'm doing lettuce in this one. This will be the easiest thing to grow. And I can have fresh lettuce all the time. Okay, so here I have the cocoa and then the cocoa plugs from YouGrow in a container, and I'm going to add some RO water to it. I will say with the can of cocoa, there are, a few chunks that needs to be broken up just a little bit, which is completely standard. But the can of cocoa is a lot more moist than some of the other cocos that I've opened up, and it's just bone dry in the bag. So this one, I don't actually need to add too much of the RO water into it. But this is also the time if you want to add anything extra into your soil, any nutrients or anything that you want for your seeds, you can add it into this now. Some people swear on it, some people don't do anything. Right now, I'm just going to add the water into it. So I'm going to hydrate that. And then this is the little cocoa plugs. And I am going to put the RO water into here and have them regenerate. Because these are really small, and I'll show you how much they expand to in just a little bit. So if you do not have a reverse osmosis machine or you do not know about it, you can always look up RO water or reverse osmosis. Hydrologic purifications is one of the more common ones that you'll hear about in the hydroponics industry. You can also, if it's something that you can't have at your house, a lot of stores, hydroponic stores, will sell RO water if you just want to pick some up. For me, I just need a few gallons. I don't need too much. We're going to let this expand. I'm going to fill this up with some water and obviously work the cocoa a little bit because I need more cocoa than this. I need to fill up that tray so I can put a bunch of seeds in there. But this is what the media looks like. I'm working with the cocoa right here. And then these are the plugs, which are already expanding. I need to add some more water into it. Typically, this is done outside, I would say, because it can be a little bit messy. But with condo living, sometimes you just gotta work with what you got. So I'm doing this in my kitchen, trying to keep it as clean as possible. Luckily, I'm close to the sink, so I will wash all of this off pretty soon. So once this is all rehydrated, we're going to put these into trays, and then we'll start planting. Okay, so here I have the little plugs, or the little hockey pucks, what people call. This is what they start out as, this little tiny size. And I put them in water for a little over a minute, and this is what they pop up to, so then they rehydrate. I just did 6 of these. I wanted to have a few extra ones, but I have 4 water farms that are going to be filled up, and I wanted to do some peppers in them. And so I will be planting some candlelight ornamental peppers from Territorial Seed Company. These do say ornamentals, but when they are grown at home, especially with organic nutrients or nutrients that you know what you're putting on your plants, they are edible. A lot of these plants, there's little tiny peppers, they're very pretty. They're used as table decorations. And when you start seeing them as table decorations, that means it's ornamental, and you do not know typically what they have sprayed onto those, and they typically are not edible. But when you grow them from home and you're buying them from Territorial Seed Company, edible, sweet, cute little peppers, so the candlelight peppers. So I did grab a few extra just because they are very little tiny seeds, but usually I will poke a little hole down the middle of these guys to drop the seed in and then cover them up a little bit with the cocoa. And there are other containers that are out there. I'm using Tupperware right now because I moved, but it works. And I might put a dome cover that I do have for some of these larger trays to cover it up in the beginning. So some of these will have 1 or 2 seeds. It just depends on how many I'm grabbing. Oops. Alright, so cover these up just a little bit. These can dry out, and obviously when they dry out, they get very dry. So, you do not want to let the cocoa dry out. I will need to check these probably every day for a while, and these might take a little bit longer to germinate. Some of the peppers do take longer to germinate, which can be common. But these are going to be put into the grow tent. They'll have a little dome on them. They will be uncovered every day or so, and I will just wait for germination now and do not let it dry out. So this is what the little cocoa plugs look like. There are ones, I think they have peat ones, they have some other media ones out there, and there's lots of different brands. If you're growing in small scale, they work great. You can just pop them up. They're easy to do, but when you start growing large scale, it is not fun to do like 200 of them. So that's typically when you're going to move into some of these larger ones, like this one that I'm going to fill up with the can of cocoa. But these ones are for a different project. I'm not going to take this little skin off. I'm going to drop them into a water farm. So once these germinate, I'll show you more on where these seeds will be put and what's going to be done with them. Okay, so right now I'm filling up the little grow chambers to plant the seeds in. And in a pinch, I have found that your kitchen utensils work just fine with this. You just want to fill these in. I have found, and I've done this the hard way, I guess it's just part of the learning process, is it's best to pre-moisten your soil or your media or anything that you're planting, especially with seeds. Because if you're using dry media, you put the seed into it and then you give it some water, it shrinks down all the way. That is normal, but it can make things a bit more messy. So I find if I pre-wet this and then fill it up and then add the seeds, I'm not going to lose as much to the erosion. So pre-moisten your soil and media. Normal thing to do. I've tried it the hard way. Go, oh, let me just try to be cleaner. It's easier if I fill this up and then add this and then add water. It might be cleaner, but then you have to go, oh crap, now I have to fill it up with more soil or media. Then you fill it back up and then you water it again, and you do that process like 3 times. And I came to the conclusion of what the heck am I doing? So pre-moisten that. A little bit of tip, it's much easier when you're using indoors to pre-moisten it. If you're doing it outdoors, I don't always do it, and it works just fine, but it makes it much easier. So that is one of my quick tips. So I'm going to fill this up and then we will start planting. Now once I pick what seeds I'm going to be planting, I will typically make the little marker so I know what lettuce I've planted, since there's quite a few different kinds. And then I typically use some kind of a grow journal. Grow journals can be as simple or as technical as you want it to. Today I just wrote down the dates. I started a few different ones, the Arrow Garden, the plugs, and then obviously this tray. And this is the Root Maker 32 cell propagation tray. So I wrote down what exactly I was starting in what kind of container or different media that's out there. Further on, I will start to say, you know, when these germinated. Some of these seeds are a little bit older. Some of them have been open. Some of them might not germinate as much. So I can keep track of it. I also can keep track and write down what kinds of nutrients I'm using, what strengths I have mixed them up to. This can, obviously it's a good learning process, but you can start to track what you've grown and what techniques that you've done. This is also excellent for outside as well. When you're rotating your crops, I will typically sketch out a map of my garden. I can put what I'm planting where, and I can kind of track of how much I'm watering, how much I'm adding nutrients or compost tea, what needs to be rotated, because some plants shouldn't be planted in the same spot year after year. Rotation is a good thing, and I have to write that down to remember it. There are online programs that you can use as well to track it. I am a journal person, so again, you can write down as little or as much information as you want, but this is a great learning tool, especially when I am doing lots of different projects. I gotta know what I have been doing. So that's a quick tip. Garden journal, must for me. So so that is a must for me. So now that I have put out the little tags, I am actually going to enter them or put them in this tray that I have right here, and I will start planting in that one. So once all the seeds are in there, I'll be done. But this one, because it's lettuce, they're little tiny seeds, I will probably overplant this and thin the seeds at a later date. Especially with some of them being older, I'm not sure what the germination rate is going to be. So I'm going to stick these guys in here, and then I will start planting. Okay, now that these are all filled up with the cocoa and labeled for what seeds are going to go in there, I will typically go through and I will just take, I'm using an indelible marker, what I use to fill out the little seed markers, and I will go through and just punch a little hole in all of them. This is where I'm going to drop my little seeds into. And then once the seeds are done, I will go back through, fill them up a little bit, and that will be done for planting right now. So let me finish these ones, drop the seeds in there, and then this will be added into the grow tent with the T5 lighting. So for planting purposes, this 32 cell tray, and this is the propagation tray from Rootmaker, was set into this container. Now that this has been planted, this will be taken out, and it was put in this container mainly because for cleanliness issues and for filling up. But now it's complete. The seeds are planted, this will be set onto this tray, and then this will go into the T5 lighting just like this. So it will germinate in this, and I can water, and it can leak through. It's just fine if water goes down here because it's sitting in another tray in the T5 lighting. So once this is all done, I'll show you the complete setup, but this is what it's going to look like in the tent. Okay, so here you have the finished product with the cocoa plugs as well as the Rootmaker tray. And I have them under the T5s, and if you can see, I lowered the T5 lighting to be pretty close to the soil or to the media. And the nice thing with the T5 lighting is you can get it pretty close without burning your leaves, and it's fine for seedlings. This is a great way to start seeds with it. And then also what I'm going to add into this tent today is a thermometer that will also tell me the humidity in it, and a 6-inch clip fan for a little bit more aeration. Now these are 3 ways that I'm starting seeds, with the Aero Garden, the cocoa plugs, and then this Rootmaker 32 cell tray. There are many other ways to start seeds. This has been an easy way for me with apartment gardening. Some people like to do the paper towel method. If you're growing certain crops like carrots, turnips, some of the other ones with the big taproot, those need to be planted outside directly into the soil. So not everything can be grown indoors, unless you're doing carrots indoors or if you're doing turnips inside. If they're eventually going to be moved outside, they should always just be grown outside. So hopefully you learned a little bit of information, and I will check back next week to see if we have germination on any of these guys. So here's the start of an urban garden with lots of lettuce and leafy green plants in 3 different growing ways, and we will watch these peppers. They'll take a little bit longer to germinate than the lettuce seeds, and those peppers will eventually be transplanted into a water farm, and those will be grown with hydroton expanded clay pebbles. And those will be in a different grow tent with an OG light and the water farms, and I will have a bigger garden set up, a 4x4 garden, and as opposed to this guy, which is about a 2x4. So it'll be about twice the space. So tune in next week as I build a new garden. But this is Emily from A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com. Welcome to
Came across a fallen tree. I felt the branches of it looking at me.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on dfcradio.com.
You're listening to A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's the green, GRO.com.
dfcradio.com.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com. I am doing another segment of A Girl in a Kitchen, and today I am making some breakfast food. Some people know this as summer porridge, but it's an easy thing that you can throw together for some great healthy breakfast food. So what the base ingredients is I usually will use old-fashioned oats, milk, Greek yogurt, and chia seeds. And then you can also add in any nuts. So this one's walnuts, honey, any kind of fruit that you want. So I have some peaches, bananas, and raspberries that I can add in. And then you put it all into a mason jar, shake it up, put it in the fridge. Next day you can pull it out and you have the perfect breakfast. And it's all in a jar, super easy, pretty easy to make. And this one I'm adding chia seeds into. And if you do not know what chia seeds are, it's a species of flowering plants from the mint family, and it's native to southern Mexico and Guatemala. And this is a food that's rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Now, according to the USDA, 1 ounce, so 28 grams, a serving of chia contains 9 grams of fat, 5 milligrams of sodium, 11 grams of dietary fiber, and 4 grams of protein. It also has 18% of the recommended daily intake of calcium, 27% of phosphorus, and 30% of I'm going to butcher this word, manganese. And I know I just said that wrong. But that's what it has. It's similar nutrient content to other edible seeds such as flax or sesame. So you could add flaxseed into this recipe as well. And these I found at Whole Foods. You can also find them at most grocery stores or health food stores, or you can order them online. But these were from Whole Foods. And these are also the same thing that's in chia pets. So what you use as houseplants for your little chia pets, they're also edible. So to do the base of this, what we're going to do is a 1/4 cup of oats, a 1/3 cup of milk, a 1/3 of a cup. Then we do a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt, and I will be posting this on Facebook as well. So written out directions, so you don't actually have to remember from the video if you do not want to. So we're going to do a 1/4 cup of yogurt. I like to use Greek yogurt. You can use other types of yogurt. I have a weird consistency thing. I'll admit it, I can be strange about food sometimes, but I prefer Greek yogurt, and I think I need a spoon. Of course, when I think I have everything out for a video. So we're going to put a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt in there. And then it calls for 1½ teaspoons of chia seeds. I'm trying not to make a mess as I go, but it never happens. And when I do these videos, I end up having a disaster of a kitchen afterwards. But that's how it goes anytime I cook, so it's not just from the video. So I have a ½ teaspoon here, so we're going to do 3 of these. Now usually, well, once this is done, before I add anything else, I will put the lid on and shake this up a little bit first before I add any of the fruit or nuts or honey or anything else I want to put in there. And the chia seeds will expand. They get kind of gelatinous with it. They're actually really good, so you can eat them dry or you can eat them with a little bit of water, on yogurt, granola. We're putting them in yogurt, obviously. And with the rolled oats, or the old-fashioned oats, and some other stuff in there. So that is mixed up. Now I'm going to add into this one, I'm going to add a little bit of walnuts. And I think I'm going to be adding raspberries into this one. So I have a little bit of different kinds of fruit here. So I'm going to fill the rest of this up with raspberries. And then stick this in the fridge overnight, and I will pull out a wonderful breakfast in the morning. So I'll have to show you when this is all done. No, that's probably should eat that one. More than enough right there. Use the same lid that I shook it up with. I can shake it up a little bit more if I want to. Now these can stay for about up to 4 days in the fridge. So I'm going to make up 3 of these. I have some peaches and then bananas. And then what I'm going to do with my leftover fruit is I'm going to chop it up and actually dehydrate some fruit as well. So I am doing a meal and a snack for next week. So basically I will do 3 breakfasts for next week and dried fruit for snacks. And these you will put in the food dehydrator for I think 14 to 16 hours for peaches. But first, let me prepare the other 2. I'm going to put bananas in one, and I'm going to put peaches in the other. And then what I have left over, I will put in the food dehydrator. So let me prepare these other 2, and then we'll check back when it's time to start the dehydrator. Okay, so now the other 2 are mixed up with the base ingredients, the oats, the milk, the yogurt, and the chia seeds. And this first one, I am going to do a banana walnut one. So add in some bananas and some walnuts, if I can get them in there. Probably shouldn't have put them on that. It's probably not the easiest way to lift them out of there, but for display purposes it worked. So this one I'm going to do banana walnut and shake that one up. It probably doesn't matter which lid I use. It's all the same stuff for right now. So there's one of them. And then this other one, I am going to do peaches and honey. Let's see if I can get the peach off of here. So add a few peaches into there. And I'll probably add about a teaspoon of honey for a little bit of flavor. Peaches and honey obviously always go together quite wonderfully. Now if I could stop making that mess, well, probably I won't stop, so I'll try. So now we have a little bit of honey to add into there. And this one, I brought back some honey last time I was in Hawaii, so this is a Hawaiian honey. I try not to bring back too many trinkets when I travel, so I find bringing back like local food stuff is always fun, and then I'll use it and I won't have extra stuff sitting around the house. So that's what I try to do, and it's kind of fun to have things from other places. So shake that one up. So what I'm going to have is the raspberry walnut one, peaches and honey, and a banana walnut one as well. So I will stick these in the fridge. Tomorrow morning I will have a perfect breakfast. That's what it looks like right now. The chia seeds are expanding a little bit. So put these in the fridge overnight. Well, they'll last up to 4 days. But now I have breakfast for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So super easy. Stick these in the dishwasher if I want to. Also, if you are worried about the metal lids because they do wear out a little bit faster, especially when you're not using them for canning, you can find plastic lids online that will fit on top of these. And this is the half-pint jar. So you can get plastic ones if you want to. But now I have breakfast ready. But what I also have is some extra fruit. So I am going to chop up this fruit. What I'll need to do is slice up my peaches. And the peaches, so they don't turn brown, because they can turn a little bit brown when you put them in the food dehydrator, you will want to pre-soak them. You can use Ball, has a food preservation one you can put in it. There's a few different recipes online of household products. Today I'm just going to use pineapple juice. So I'm going to slice these up long ways. Well, I guess I've already been slicing this one, but not too thick. Slice these ones up. These fruit, this peach was picked yesterday and they're really ready to be eaten. So if there's any little bruised spots that I don't like, that I don't want, just cut them off, throw them in the garbage, and then preserve the part that you want. So these are going to all be dropped into a bowl of pineapple juice and then start to be put in the food dehydrator. So let me start chopping these up and I will come back when they're ready to go in the dehydrator. Okay, so I have my peaches all sliced up and it's in a container. It's soaking right now in a pineapple juice. Now, once you cut up the peaches and put them in whatever you're going to treat them with so they don't turn brown, it needs to be used within an hour. So it's best to do these right away. So I just cut these out, threw them in here. And I have a basic food dehydrator, so I am going to lay these out on the food dehydrator. Now this is one that says that you should use for optimum performance is 4 trays. So I also have some bananas that I bought, and instead of wasting it, I'm going to fill up some of these other trays with bananas because I only had about 3 peaches. These were picked yesterday from a U-Put farm in Oregon, and they are just wonderful. Now, if you want, you can peel the peaches if you don't want the peach skin. I left them on, some of them. They aren't the biggest deal, but some people just don't care for them. So I cut, obviously you can still peel some of them. Cut a few of those off, and then I will just keep stacking these, if I can put this on correctly, until I have at least 4 trays that are full. Once this is full, I will add the top part of the food dehydrator that actually plugs in, and these say 14 to 16 hours on them. So I am going to put a timer on for 14 hours. I honestly will say I have not dried fruit for years. I'm going to peel the skin off of this one too. Sometimes the end pieces with the skin, they don't look, they're still very edible, they just don't look as good with the skin. There's easier ways to peel them
I don't have too many ends again because I only have 3 peaches in here, or 2.5. So you can peel the skins off if you want. Cut off the bruised parts if you want. I have a few of them on there. It's not the end of the world, but just depending how some people are pickiness of food, you might have to do that. So now I have 2 of these filled up. I need to fill up 2 more trays. So I am going to slice up some bananas and make some banana chips as well with this. So let me get rid of this and then start on the bananas. Okay, so I cut up all of the bananas, and I will honestly say I have not dehydrated fruit in a very long time. So I could have cut these either too thick or too thin. It's one of those things you kind of learn by going as you dry fruit more often. You can become more familiar with it. I soak these ones again, though, in the pineapple juice. This will help with some of the flavor, the preserving it actually longer, and helping it so it does not turn brown. So I'm going to lay these, actually that one's probably way too thin. Sometimes they get in there. So I want to fill up the next 2 trays with bananas for some banana chips. So not too hard. Again, you don't want to soak them in this way too long. You want to use these when they're as fresh as possible. The directions for this specific dehydrator says not to do it more than an hour. There's many different resources online though, especially with fruit, dehydrating fruit. And this can also be, if you don't have a dehydrator, this is a pretty basic, inexpensive one. I think it's called Nesco. They also have the Excalibur one, which is like the creme de la creme, the really nice food dehydrator. So there's quite a few on the market. If it's something that you just aren't quite willing to get a dehydrator yet, you want to try it out a few times, there's directions that you can do it in the oven. And there's some other ways, obviously, that you can do it. So you can do it without the food dehydrator, but a girlfriend loaned this to me because she's had it a few years and she has never even opened it. So I am going to give it a whirl this week. So once these are all filled up, so I'm going to fill up this tray obviously, I will put the lid on this and plug it in, and the directions both say about 14 to 16 hours for these. But I will be checking these periodically. Again, I haven't done this for a very long time. So I will just have to check my progress to see how they look, how they taste. Did I cut these the right way? Again, this is also a learning process with food preservation. But a lot of your stuff that you pick from the garden can also be dehydrated. Kale chips is a really fun one to do, and that one you can do in a dehydrator, and it can also be done in your oven. You can start experimenting with some of the different spices and flavoring. If you're doing bananas, or actually apples, but you could also do it with bananas. Cinnamon is a good thing to add in there. Add some flavor into it, kind of fun. So you can start experimenting with different spices and flavors in this. So I am kind of making a mess, but I'm going to use all of the bananas I have. So I'm going to kind of squeeze them in here. And again, make sure your kitchen and your cooking or prep area, because you're not really cooking, is as clean as possible. Obviously, I'm reaching my hands into this. I've been washing my hands between cutting up the fruit, and anytime I step away from what I'm doing and switch to a new job, I wash my hands. Try to make sure it's as clean as possible. I don't want any contamination. So I made sure to clean the countertop, clean these dehydrators that I just opened, but I cleaned everything in a light bleach solution, let it air dry. So just proper, just general food prep stuff. Just keep it clean, which also obviously applies to your garden. Keep it clean. Treat it like a lab. So same thing with your kitchen. So now that I have all of the bananas out, hopefully there's a few more in here.
kind of cram them in there. I will wash my hands and put the lid on this, and then I will get the plug-in thing for this, and I am just going to plug it in, and I'm going to set a timer on my, well, a reminder on my phone to remember to check in and see the progress of how this one is doing. So rinse my hands off really fast, put the other tray on there. I'm going to dump out this kind of nasty pineapple juice that I've used for both the peaches and the bananas. So this fits on here. And then I will get the component. This is the food dehydrator. So I'm going to set this into it. And I will just plug this in and have a timer on my phone. Maybe I should take the little things off of it. So there is some sound with it. Luckily I live alone, so I don't mind this going overnight. I will just have to plug it in. Or I'm sorry, shut my door to my bedroom when I sleep. But I'm just going to leave this here and I can check the process. We'll check just how it's going with that. So here I have snacks. And we did, obviously, in the beginning of the video, I showed you how to make the yogurt oatmeal kind of thing, which it will start to firm up. And those are 2 easy food preps for snacks this week, and, well, this will last way longer than a week, but snacks and breakfast food. So this is Emily with another edition of A Girl and a Kitchen on A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com. Welcome back to A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com. This is your host, Emily. And thank you for joining me this week as I talk about seed starting and how to make my favorite breakfast summer porridge. You can mix up with any kind of fruits. You can use nuts. It's good. It's yogurt. One of my favorites, and it's easy. So has anyone started harvesting from the garden yet? I have had a few things in now, and I actually harvested sweet baby kale this weekend, and I made a garden to table meal that was pretty easy. A lot of my cooking seems to more be assembling ingredients together and not too much cooking. So I got some baby kale from the garden, pretty new. I planted it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, harvested that. I cooked up some saffron rice, added some green peas, and I laid down a bed of kale in a bowl, and then I added the rice, and I added peas, and I added carrots sliced up, as well as feta and walnuts, and then I mixed in some tzatziki sauce, which is a Greek yogurt sauce with cucumbers and dill and garlic, and it's delicious. And I mixed that all up, and it was warm, and it didn't look the most appetizing, but oh man, it was delicious. So that was my first garden to table meal that I've made in a while, just because I've been late on getting my garden in. So have you been harvesting from the garden, and what have you been eating? That is the question. And here is another question about your garden. Are you growing less or being more conscious about your water use, especially if you're in California? I know I don't typically have a plan of what I'm planting in the garden, but I know I've cut back on a lot of the plants, mainly because I know I'm going to be traveling and I won't have time to water. And another thing and issue is we don't have that much water. So I only want to plant what I'm actually going to harvest and eat. So I'm going to be skipping a lot of the heavy waters that are out there. I'm not going to grow any pumpkin or squash this year, just because it takes such a long time to grow and it takes a lot of water. And I think those are the main ones. Watermelon, pumpkins, squash. Cutting back on those ones. I grow zucchini and sometimes crookneck squash, but I never eat enough of it. So I gave those ones up. Are there any plants that you are not growing this year? Or any other growing styles you're using, particularly because of the drought? I'd love to hear. Send me an email, girlinagarden@gmail.com. Post on Facebook, post on Instagram. Let me know. How are you changing your gardening style due to our weather changes? I'd love to hear from that one. Now, before I go, I do have to say Mother's Day is coming up. It's this Sunday. You've probably seen many of the ads on television, the radio, hints from your mother, all different ways. It is Mother's Day on Sunday, so please remember to go get something for your mother. Live plants are a great thing to get instead of bouquets. Or just call your mom and wish her Happy Mother's Day. You don't have to get a gift, as long as, I know with my mom, as long as she hears from me, she's happy. And I probably should call her more often. So remember to wish your mother Happy Mother's Day this Sunday. And until next time, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com.
Is everything a baited hook? And are there locks on all doors?